The Devy Planet.
First one, the Clemson wide receiver here, TJ Moore. What are your thoughts on TJ Moore here?
Yeah, I mean TJ Moore, he's your big boy from Clemson, 6'3", 200 pounds. He's a 2027 guy, 5-star recruit coming out. So we're back into that 5-star
Yep.
range.
Yep.
In 2024, you had 14 games played. He started 9 of them. Kind of again, as these freshmen do, came on a little bit later in the year. 63.4% reception rate, 650 yards total. 215 of those were yards after the catch. He had 5 touchdowns, a 12.6 ADOT. 36.8% of his catches were contested, and then 92.5% of his snaps were out wide. So a true outside receiver here in TJ Moore. Tell me your thoughts on this guy.
Yes, sir. Jamie, thanks for joining. Go have a good show, my guy. TJ Moore is an absolutely stud. Tommy's even saying silky smooth. He's an absolutely great wide receiver. This is something we saw as a true freshman coming out and doing some great things. I know people look at the stats like, hey, 650, that's not good. Considering that all the wide receivers ate at Clemson, that's actually pretty good, if I might say. 92.5 out wide. He's your X wide receiver. He's a guy that can go up there and get it. Now, I want to see him get a little bit more physical because his routes are a little bit more crisp and not as fluid as I would like. So I believe he's going to be more of your down the field stretcher kind of deal. And so with that, I want to see him get a little bit more physical against those contested catches, and that way he could be your true possession type of wide receiver to go out there and ball out. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, TJ Moore is a very good boundary guy. To me, like as you said, he needs to add a little play strength because he plays a little soft. He actually reminds me a lot of guy who came out this year in Jaden Higgins and his older brother, T. Higgins. So another Clemson wide receiver there, kind of your bigger guy who doesn't necessarily play huge. As Tommy pointed out, he's smooth. He runs a good route. He's very crisp. He gets downfield and beats guys. I mean, he's a very complete receiver, except that for 6'3", he plays more like 6 foot.
Right.
So
exactly.
If he could add and leverage his length a little bit better, I mean, this guy could be the wide receiver 1 going into 2020. Well, maybe not wide receiver 1, but top 5 in 2027. Yeah. But that's a stacked class. It's no.
You have to remember who was in that class.
I was like, wait a minute, Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams. Okay. Yeah. Top 5 though.
Yeah.
Very easily.
For sure.
And, first round, top 20 pick. So.
Huge hands.
He's got huge hands. Like that's the thing. He's got to leverage that a little bit better though, because he's getting his hands on the ball. You know who else had huge hands? Sky Moore.
Yeah.
You got to be able to come down with it, especially through contact. And
we talk about physicality. I mean, if we would talk about him playing smaller, you think of guys like Wandale Robinson and Zay Flowers, because those guys were smaller in frame, but yet they played with that physicality going after. That's what drew me to them when watching their tape was like, oh, slap, these guys are actually going up and getting the ball. Where there's certain situations with TJ Moore where it's like, I didn't feel you really fought for that. Like I felt you went up to get it, but you didn't fight to bring it down, right? And I want to see that a lot more, especially if you're like thinking a pro prospect. There's going to be some physical defensive backs that you're playing against where the ball's in your hands or you're getting the ball in, 2-minute drills and stuff. You have to be that guy that comes down with it. And again, that 36.8, you see a little bit more of that physicality when it comes to it. But speaking of the Clemson wide receivers, he's a true freshman last year. This next guy's a veteran at Clemson. Clemson wide receiver Antonio Williams. Talk to me about him.
Yeah, Antonio Williams is... I mean, he's 5'11", 190. Let's start there. A little smaller. He's a 2026 guy coming out this year. He was a 4-star. Last year he played 14 games, 14 started. He was steady Eddie for them. 75% reception rate, so very high. 908 yards, I believe that led the team. 339 of those were after the catch. He had 11 touchdowns, a 10 ADOT, 57.9% contested catches, and 58% of his snaps were from the slot. So played all over the field, inside, outside.
Right.
Caught those balls. Tell me about Antonio Williams.
Yeah, I mean, you really hit on the mark with him leading the receiver room. And I think that says a lot because the 2 freshmen that were there, TJ Moore and one we'll talk about here in a bit, really came in and actually did some great work for him as well. Moving around that 58% out the slot, again, like you just said, it shows me he's a guy that is really a Swiss Army knife in a sense. You can really line him up everywhere. He is very twitchy, very quick in getting the things done for him. The man, Antonio Williams. There you go. Our guy, Dynasty Dogs. Again, don't forget to subscribe to Dynasty Dogs YouTube and watch the shows when they go live. My guy, Mike Anthony and Rich do a fantastic show over there as well. Antonio Williams has the capabilities of being one of the top wide receivers in this upcoming class. I say that as like the top 5. Really, when we're thinking about this next class, I said 2025 if I did, excuse me, 2026. We're talking about the 2026 class. As we mentioned, this is the year for quarterback. This past year, 2025, was a year for a running back. This next year, 2027, will be year of the wide receiver. This 2026 class, depending on who you're talking to, the top 3, top 5 are all in a slump. I know some people favor a guy in Jordan Tyson at Arizona State. Some people favor Evan Stewart out of Oregon. Some might say Kevin Sochion, who's now at A&M. Depending on who you're talking to, it really is a jumbo set, and Antonio Williams is part of that jumbo set. He has the skill sets to be one of the top guys because of his versatility, because he he's a go-getter. He goes after the ball, right? He's going to go make sure the ball's coming down with him if it's thrown his way. He could line up anywhere on the field. So for a NFL coach, they probably love that, saying, hey, you're not a true X. You're not a true slot. You're not even a true Y. You're a guy that's going to come in here and actually do what we need you to do when we need you to do it. And that's what we need. Just someone that can be very excited to move the change. We can move you anywhere we want, and the quarterback's going to become your best friend because they know, hey, you're always going out there. You're finding the open spots in the zone coverage. If you get the ball, you're twitchy enough to make the plays. Now, 339 yards after the catch, he's not really going crazy or anything, like not making a lot of defenders miss in that open space, but he's still getting it done. And sometimes you need those guys to just get it done. If you think about someone, kind of reminds you of like a Jacoby Myers in a sense, where you're not talking a lot about him, but then you look at the numbers and you're like, oh, snap, this guy actually was a wide receiver 2, in some cases a wide receiver 1, fantasy wise, because he just got the job done. That's what Antonio Williams kind of reminds you of. Not play style, just that mindset of we might not be talking about him, but yeah, if you draft him, you're enjoying it because you're like, man, this guy is always on the field. He is a reliable pass catcher for our quarterbacks, and he's consistently getting yards or touchdowns. But 11 touchdowns, fantastic. For a 5'11", 190 guy, we just talked about a 6-foot guy or a 6'3" guy that had less than him. Granted, he's the freshman, but yet still was like, damn, that's really good. So absolutely love him. Anything else on Antonio Williams there?
I have so much to say because I love Antonio Williams. I think first I'm going to start with like a guy because you mentioned that 2026 class. Mekhi Lemon is somebody that people are hyped
Yep.
over, who's that smaller guy right now. I think Antonio Williams is this smaller guy who's actually going to break the mold here.
Okay.
There's a play against Georgia last year where he went up probably like 40 yards downfield. Cade Klubnik said, I know my boy Antonio's got this.
There you
Chucked it
go.
up to him. He had double coverage. He high pointed the ball, came down on the boundary, got both feet in, and came down with it. I mean, and that's a 5'11",
Yep.
190 guy. It reminded me of Amon-Ra St. Brown,
Whew, okay.
where he can move in and out. He's solid after the catch. He's physical, but he's also he can go downfield. He can make that play. He can outrun guys, even though he's maybe not the most athletic. He can
Right.
high point the guy, even though he's not the biggest guy. He's
Right.
just a dog.
Yeah. Straight.
Like he's just a dog. So
Oh,
this is the type of guy who I absolutely love. He's coach's kid. He can move in and out all around. I mean, that's Antonio Williams is
I'll
he's
just point this
just
out. Dog
yeah,
approved. Dynasty Dogs.
yeah.
Dog approved here. Antonio
Dynasty dogs
Williams.
approved. Your dog's dog. Um, no, so I mean, I really think that he's below Tyson for me. We'll get to next week, but he's not far off, and I think he's a really good player who's going to make a massive impact.
Yeah,
So
and
I'm
I
excited
think
to see.
he had some injuries too, that hurt him. But again, I think he might benefit in the sense where there's star power around him because the eyes aren't on him, but yet he's really the star. Does that make sense? Like there might
Yeah,
be brighter stars on paper around him, but when you look closer through a telescope, it's really Antonio Williams that's shining the brightest, and that's kind of the player he can type of be when it's all said and done there. Clemson wide receivers. I might argue that Clemson. I would say this, and people are like, "Hey, Clemson might have the best wide receiver core in the nation," and this is why we're gonna bring up this other guy here, wide receiver Clemson, Bryant Wesco. Tell us your thoughts on him, or tell us the stats on him there.
sure. Bryant Wesco, another true freshman, he came in 6'2", 180. So a little thin, Slim
Mhm.
Reaper type of levels.
Oh yeah.
2027 draft eligible. He was a 4-star coming out. In 2024, he had 12 games played. 11 of them started, so started most of
Mhm.
them as a true freshman.
Mhm.
55.4% reception rate, not great. 707 yards, much better.
Mhm.
250 of those were after the catch, 5 touchdowns, a 13.6 ADOT, 43.8% contested catches, and 88% of his snaps were out wide. Talking
Right.
about this third Clemson receiver, Bryant Wesco.
Yeah, so when we talk about the Clemson wide receivers, TJ Moore, Antonio Williams, Bryant Wesco. I absolutely love Wesco. People are actually asking us Wesco or TJ Moore. Do I take Antonio Williams? I'm all over Wesco. I think he's a fantastic X wide receiver. We saw this as a true freshman. He's only going to get better. You do want to see a little bit more weight probably on him, but he still plays with some physicality to him. He's a lot more shiftier, I think, than TJ Moore, which I think is why I'm drawn to him. The yards after the catch don't show that as far as his elusiveness in the open field, but he's definitely more twitchier when it comes to his routes, in my opinion. His ADOT shows, he's getting down the field quick and very reliable for that quarterback as well. Contested catches, just like TJ Moore, probably need to work on that. Again, that goes to physicality, building a little more bulk to him. But I absolutely love what he's doing. I think he's going to be a great asset for any team that gets him. And when Cade Klubnik is gone, quarterbacks are still going to love him because he's going to be their true X, in my opinion, the real wide receiver one of that team. What are your thoughts on Wesco?
Yeah, I really like Wesco also. He plays with a lot of speed. That's the thing. If you're looking for who's going to run a 4.3 on
Mm-hmm.
this team, Brian Wesco is going to run a 4.3.
Yep.
He gets downfield lightning quick. As you said, he's got good twitch to him, especially deep. He's great at the top of the stem, kind of those high post routes. He always seems to lose his man. I'd like to see him work a little closer to the line of scrimmage because he really was used a lot as a deep threat last year, which I think is why his yards after the catch aren't as high as they could be. So adding a little bit of weight, if he can get up to 190, 195, and not lose
Mm-hmm.
too much of a step of speed, I mean, he's going to be an elite weapon at the next level.
For sure.
Um, you know, I think that everything he did was respectable. He just needs a little step up. But as a true freshman to come in a blue chip program like Clemson and put up these kind of numbers, it's very good. Him and TJ Moore, the future's bright. I lean Wesco slightly just because,
Mm-hmm.
as you said, that twitch is nice.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got the higher upside in that regard, but you can't go wrong. This is I think, the most talented room in football for wide receivers right now.
Yeah, when we talk about the core again, if they're riding three ride, you have Wesco, TJ Moore, Antonio Williams there. And truthfully, last year, Antonio Williams was the veteran, so they had to move him around different spots. This year, you have Moore and Wesco with a little bit more experience under their belt. So now you have opportunity for them to say, okay, you're the true X's outside, right? You're on the wide receiver one, you're the true X and Y's there on the outside. And now you have Antonio Williams solely focused on the slot. So he might become that slot merchant this year, but now you have actual three wide receivers in their specific roles just going out there and dominating. Wesco can actually do that. I think he's got a blowout season as far as like great season, a blowout breakout season, and he needs to go out there and dominate for them as well. And he's easily gonna rise the stock. Now, if we're talking overall ranks for Wesco, I mean he's definitely up there when you're talking about potentially top five. Let's check my overall ranks for him. I know we just did a show too about it, but he's definitely a prospect to be your top five, right? We have our locked in top three right now in Jeremiah Smith, Cam Coleman, Ryan Williams, however you want to do that. And then we talk about Wesco possibly entered in there. We talk about Wingo, Morris, TJ Moore. All these guys could potentially enter into that conversation of a top four, top five type of deal. Wesco definitely is in there for them. He's my six, thinking about now, because you have Wingo, Nick Morris as well, finishing on my top five. And now you have Wesco, TJ Moore neck and neck there as well. They could easily slide into it. And to be honest, if they really needed to, they can slide into something even bigger. I mean, if they crazy things have happened where we see guys fall off after 1 year of greatness, so it's very possible that we could be talking to him as a top three. So definitely in there.